Okay. Okay, Mark, are we live? Are we recording now? Could you unmute yourself?
Why is he outside?
Oh, that's just a computer generated.
Oh, is that okay? Is that just
Yeah.
a bright background? Well,
Yeah,
it looks like
yeah.
he's just walked outside.
It does. It does.
Uh,
Sorry about the mute. I've got the agenda pulled up now.
Okay.
Should be screen sharing.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, Ashok is not here, but if you want to get started, we certainly are ready anytime you are.
Okay. All right. We'll open this November the 9th. Is this today the 9th or 11th?
Yep, the 9th.
Today. 9th. Okay, good. We'll open this November 9th meeting of the Macon-Bibb County Planning and Zoning Commission. We have 4 of the 5 commissioners present. And we'll get started. May I have a motion on the previous meeting minutes?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of our previous meeting.
Do I have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Jim, I believe you have a resolution for us to discuss.
I do, and I sent that out to the commissioners this morning, and I apologize for the late mailing on that. This is a resolution. It'll be number resolution R21-0004. This is in regards to our grant application for our federal funds that we get from the Federal Transit Authority to do the planning as the MATS staff. So this is a yearly thing we do. And this year they're doing it's a digital application. And so that's one of the reasons why we're getting it so late. And they've shortened the time frame as well. So did everybody get a chance to see that? The email that I sent out?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, give me that number again, please.
It's
R for what?
R21-0004.
Okay.
And this resolution basically authorizes us to apply for the funds, these federal funds that go into our budget so that we can do the transit planning for Macon-Bibb County and part of Jones County.
Okay. Do I have a motion that we authorize Jim to proceed with this resolution?
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the resolution R21-0004.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution R21-0004, which is an authorizing filing of an application with the Department of Transportation and the Georgia Department of Transportation for a grant under Title 49 USC Section 5303. Do I have all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Get where I am. All opposed? So carried. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The agenda has changed drastically. We were able to recommend ratification on all of the items except for 1182 Calhoun Street. So you'll hear that item today. And we've got a number of people that are here that are interested in this and want to address the commission. We've set up a laptop at the conference room since we're all remote now, but we've got a laptop set up to where the folks that want to address the commission can enter the Zoom proceedings, and I think that's going to work out well.
Okay.
So we can just get right to it.
Okay.
This item is 1182 Calhoun Street. This is a conditional use to allow a restaurant with alcohol consumed on premises and a catering kitchen and an event space in the Bills Hill Historic District. This is Robert Fisher with Fisher's Fabulous Foods LLC as the applicant. And we did forget, we need to swear folks in that are going to speak. So
who is Robert Fisher there? That he
Yes, ma'am.
haven't seen you yet.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm sorry. I had some trouble getting on. My ID kept kicking out on me,
Okay.
but I
All
have my
right.
video on.
Okay. Well, Mr. Fisher, if you'll tell us what your application is.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead and explain to the commissioners what your application is.
So the application for the building is to use the front two-story building as a 44-seat restaurant and an event space upstairs that will be utilized for overflow seating and private parties. I've opened the option to the community that room will be available for no charge. Obviously, no outside food or beverages can be brought in, but we're looking to build a positive relationship with the community. The back building, we're proposing that there will be two kitchens, one to service the restaurant up front and the other to the catering kitchen. I'm sorry, the screen keeps popping around on me there.
yeah,
The one thing I did want to note on this is that it's still showing that the 991 Hazel Street is not a part of this project, where it actually is. This parcel of land with the agreement with Historic Macon is actually, there were two parcels. For some reason, one of them wasn't, they haven't annexed them into each other, but in the closing documents that I have for the real estate, they're both included in that project.
let me interrupt. We failed to swear Mr. Fisher in, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
thank you, Chairman. All right. Sheila, you there? Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm gonna swear everybody in.
Okay. Okay, now I see Mr. Fisher. All right, who else is
Just raise your
there?
right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right, thank you.
All right, let me note also that Commissioner Patel is with us now. All right, go ahead, Mr.
As
Fisher.
is my fiance, Michelle, who's sitting behind me here, just so you know, there's someone else in the room. Just a disclaimer that there's someone else in the room.
Okay.
Mark, could you call up the item again, the site plan and the,
Coming up. Okay. Mr. Fisher, do
Mr.
you have
Fisher,
a,
you said that two lots, something wasn't showing up on this screen here.
I can't, obviously I can't point to it, but if you look at that little notch
Yes,
that's close to the building, no, the
Yes.
empty notch, that's
yes,
991 Hazel Street. That's part of this project. It's just, it has a separate address for some reason that we're trying to work out. But
okay,
that whole corner is part of the project.
okay,
and all the site plans we received included that property, and it's just, this particular map is not correct because we took it off of the GIS by
Okay.
address, so it didn't pick up that little sliver.
okay. All right.
And this is an old map because there's no parking lot, just to bring that up to your attention because we will be talking about that. The 996, where you see 996, the green space area,
Yes,
that is now Mount Olives Missionary Baptist Church. That is now a huge parking lot.
but that does not belong to you.
No, ma'am, it does not. But I just wanted to point that out that there is a parking lot there. And
Okay.
that'll come up in a conversation soon. There's a question about my parking. We're working on a negotiation with the church to utilize their parking spaces and building a pathway to our restaurant.
Okay. All right, what else? What do you, I know the commissioners have some questions.
Well, is Will Sanford on the call?
Will's
Yes,
here.
he is.
I am.
And Ethiel?
Ethiel's here.
Okay.
Ethiel needs to unmute.
I'm here.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't receive this email until 3:43 on Friday, and the cutoff was 3:30 for participation. So we've been having to jump through some hoops. But we're here in full force and willing and able to answer any of your questions.
Commissioners, what questions do you have for Mr. Fisher?
My question is, this is Tim Jones. My question is, have you all talked with any of the surrounding neighbors?
Yes, sir. We actually had several households that wanted to participate in this call, but again, unfortunately, we didn't have the information soon enough. But yes, we've had 3 events at the property where we've spoken with the local neighborhood and had nothing but support.
Okay, my second question is in terms of the beer and wine sale.
Yes,
and
sir.
then proximity to Mount Olive Baptist Church, and you said they have agreed to, are you in negotiation with using that parking lot?
Yes, sir.
And you don't think the alcohol license is going to present a problem?
It has not come up in conversation.
Well, what about the restriction that the city of Macon was kind of the government had about the distances? Will you be
It's
far
my
enough away from?
It's my understanding, Commissioner Jones, that law was changed about 10 years ago here in Macon, and that it no longer applies.
All right.
I did look into it when I first started the project because I was concerned about both churches. There's one across the street from me at Hazel that's about 150 feet away. And so I reached out to some government officials and they told me that that law was changed about 10 years ago.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Well, what are your hours going to be?
We're looking at 11 to 9 Tuesday through Thursday, and 11 to 10 on Friday and Saturday.
Would that include any events that would be renting the upstairs? Would they have the same time limits?
Yes, we're not running a late night bar. There's no vision of this turning into anything other than a family restaurant with beer and wine service. As I stated earlier, the upstairs room, the vision is that people will utilize it for corporate meetings, pharmaceutical meetings, local nonprofit organizations using it as a space. You know, it's a community room in a sense.
Okay.
But no, we're not going to run late. There's no way. I personally purchased a house 2.5 blocks away on Calhoun Street. Michelle and I have been involved in the community since we started looking at this project. And, you know, we're not just going in there as developers or as restaurateurs looking to make a buck. I mean, we're really hoping to make a difference in the community.
All right, gentlemen, anything else?
Is there an alternative for the parking if you're not successful in negotiating with Mount Olive? This is Josh.
Yeah, Josh, there is one. We have enough space in the lot that's showing beside the building. If we had to build, we could put a parking lot in. I think that's more intrusive to the neighborhood. You know, you start putting asphalt down everywhere, it kind of loses the personality. So, for example, we're even talking about using crushed gravel on most of the handicap, just because it's a better aesthetic. But yes, there is an alternative.
All right. Any other questions?
This is Brian Scott again. So it's just beer and wine, is not liquor, or just beer and wine?
Yes, sir. Just beer and wine. I have no desire whatsoever to apply for a liquor license with hard liquor. It's the liability insurance, the training, the impact on the community. It's you know, we're not trying to be a downtown restaurant. We're trying to be a neighborhood restaurant. We want people to be able to walk over after work with their kids or ride their bikes and enjoy a nice meal and maybe a glass of wine with dinner. There was a quote or a statement made in the summary report that states that we put in a quote unquote bar for beer and wine service. And yes, we will have a bar, but that bar, the main intent for that bar was, and Will can contest to this, my architect, I said, we need a place for people to sit and wait for to-go dinners, or we need a place for people to sit and wait for tables to come free. That was the main objective with that bar. Will people have a drink there? Possibly, but that's not the reason. We don't want happy hour after crowds, you know, that type of thing going on, because we don't have the space.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. The footprint of this building is rather small. It's built in the late 1800s, so there's not much waiting space, and you don't want to put people outside to wait as much as possible. So the idea was that we create a small area where they could sit and do a to-go order, or also, you know, just grab, even, you know, come and dine for one. So lunch service too. So that was sort of the genesis of that.
All right, whoever that is talking, would you please identify yourself for the record?
Yes, this is Will Stanford with BTBB Architects. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's what I thought, but you didn't say so, so I just wanted to make sure that was in the record.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else, guys? All right, do we have anyone to speak in favor or against?
We do have a number of folks, and I don't have their names here. So, Greg, if you're online, if you could get those folks to the laptop.
Yes, they are here now, ready to address the commission.
Okay.
All right. Is there anyone there to address the commission who is in favor of the restaurant? All right, then.
Yes,
we'll,
Ms. Chairman, we have Mr. Michael Malloy and
okay.
Mr. Robert Bob Cleghorn to speak in support of the project.
Okay. All right. We still have time limits on these, so you go ahead.
Okay.
Just get up close as we can.
My name is Robert or Bob Cleghorn. I'm a land surveyor, and I've been working with Mr. Michael Malloy on a piece of property out on Jeffersonville Road. And Mr. Malloy has a renter on an existing house on that property that he's been wanting to sell to them. I think has some informal agreement with them. As I pointed out in the letter, the initial thing that Mr. Malloy wanted to do was give them basically an acre of land around the house. And the most desirable thing was to actually do the acre all the way to the existing boundaries on the north and his existing boundary on the south, with Jeffersonville Road being on the east. And
Bob,
going back
let me interrupt you. He's talking about another item that we have actually put on the agenda as a ratification item.
I didn't think he was talking about this property.
Right. Bob, we're talking about a project on Calhoun Street right now. We've actually placed your application under ratification, which they will vote on at the end of the hearing with approval from the
I'm not
staff.
familiar with anything on Calhoun Street.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. your item will come up under ratification at the end of this agenda. And items that are on for ratification, we don't take testimony. We don't need testimony. And so they'll vote on that as part of a list of items for approval. So I think
We are hearing testimony only on 1182 Calhoun Street right now.
Right.
Well, I don't know the protocol here. We were just told to be here at 1:30.
Okay,
And
that's fine.
and there would be
That's
something.
fine.
So do we sit here till the end of all this?
You really don't even have to wait.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll sit here and watch the proceedings. I'm just curious. I really
Okay.
appreciate all the work y'all do for Macon. And,
All right, thank you.
And y'all are adding to us every day. And I really support everything that y'all do for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll just sit back.
All right, Greg, do we have anybody else out there to speak?
No, there's no one here present to speak in support of or in opposition of 1182 Calhoun Street.
All right, Will, have you got anything else you want to add?
No, not at this time. Well, I'm sorry. There is one thing, if I may. Excuse me. One of the concerns that someone brought up was the proximity to Tatnall Place housing right across the street, and I can certainly commend Robert and Michelle for engaging not just that tenancy, but the rest of the neighborhood. But we've reached out to Mike Alston, the director of Macon Housing Authority, and he said he's fully in support of this this development in terms of community development for this area. So he would not have any opposition to it.
All right, does anyone else have any comments or questions?
I want to make sure that the commission get the email that I sent you from Michael Ryan. You got
But
his
he is not
comments.
here, is
He's not here evidently.
he? Okay.
Correct.
Did everyone read the letter from,
Yeah, I did. So in reference to parking, how much parking is currently is required, and how much is on the site?
Well, based on the number of seats, he would need, at the worst case scenario, is 31 parking spaces at any given time. If the restaurant was full and the space upstairs was being used, you need 31 parking spaces. So you need 19 parking spaces for the restaurant and 12 for the event space when it's used.
And how many does he have space for? Or will he?
Currently, he's only showing 2 on a site plan, but he's working with the adjacent church, who has just built a parking lot. And Mr. Fisher can probably explain it better than I can, but they're hoping to have some kind of agreement with the church to utilize that existing parking. That's it's a brand new parking lot, basically.
and does that parking lot come up to his property line?
Yes, ma'am.
It?
It's within the easement.
So this is Tim Jones again, in terms of the parking and the church parking lot. What would happen when there's a conflict when the church is having an event in the afternoon? I know they have Wednesday night Bible study. There could be funeral, weddings, what have you. What would be your workaround?
Well, there is public parking on the street, Commissioner Jones, that as a business, we have a right to also. We are also budgeting for 30 to 40% of our clientele to come out of the neighborhood within walking distance or bicycles. So I do understand the commission's concern about parking, but I think the foot traffic issue is a positive for us. And I'll use Bears Den for an example. I've been driving by there on a regular basis, and they've got a line out the door, and they sure don't have 31 parking spots. And I know they seat more than I do. So, and they have outdoor seating. I'm hoping that the commission will work with me on this and we will find a resolution that makes everybody happy.
The other thing that we should consider is that to address Commissioner Jones, they've got space on their property to provide a fair amount of parking. I wouldn't be, I don't think they should build a parking lot, but they've got the space. They could actually, their customers could park on grass or use what's there. So there are other options available to Mr. Fisher in case there's a conflict with the church.
And Jim, if I can address that, there's actually a cut through on the curb line on that lot because there used to be a driveway there. So we do have access from the street to that lot if necessary.
Right.
I mean, that's the bottom line, right? And it reminds me of Michael Ryan's letter, but I think everyone's preference is to be able to utilize the church's parking lot because that's already developed, already paved, and doesn't have any additional environmental impact. And in general, you will be hosting crowds at different times. So it's very compatible. But the bottom line is that the conditional use application is conditional based on Mr. Fisher's ability to get 31 parking spaces, right? So one way or the other, he's either got to present a signed agreement with the church for access to those spaces or develop them on site, which it seems like he's prepared to do, though. I would prefer it to stay grass and trees like it is now, if that's at all possible. Is that right, Jim? And one way or another, he's got to verify to the commission that he's got 31 spaces.
That's right. And I'm assuming that if there's a motion to approve, it would be conditioned upon them presenting an agreement before any permits were issued.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. I can go for that. Anybody if anybody any more questions, then we can have a motion that would include that.
Commissioner Eastham, Matt?
Yes.
I just once again like to state for the record that I do have several households that are within a half a block to a block of this development that were willing to come on and speak in favor of it. And unfortunately, because of the time constraints and when I received the information about the meeting, that they weren't available.
Well, I think we are all pretty much in favor of this development. We just want to resolve the parking issue.
Yes, ma'am. Don't we all?
I know. So maybe what we need is a motion that would approve this conditional use with the caveat that before permits are given, that you would provide to the commission your exact parking plan.
I would support that.
Okay.
If it matters, if I support it, but I'm on board with that. Yes.
Okay. All right. If there's no further questions or if there's no one else to speak, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the conditional use at 1182 Calhoun Street with caveat that a plan for 31 parking spaces must be presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve a conditional use at 1182 Calhoun Street for a restaurant with the caveat that your parking plan would be submitted to the commission for approval before you receive any permit. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. All right. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. If you'll just bring your parking plan, whether it be with the church or some type of drawing or layout showing parking spaces on your lot.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
And you can work with the zoning office from this point on to get your permit straight.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jim.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do we have anything else on the agenda, Jim?
Just
Other
the
than
ratification items.
ratification? All right. May I have a motion on ratification items?
I'll do it. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ratification items, including a conditional use at 100 Tivoli Place, a certificate of appropriateness at 545 3rd Street, a certificate of appropriateness at 894 College Street, a variance at 1025 Marion Oaks Road, a certificate of appropriateness at 1320 Jackson Street, a conditional use application at 1476 McGillicuddy Drive, a conditional use at 2308 Ingleside Avenue, a conditional use at 3902 Northside Drive, a conditional use at 4154 Bloomfield Drive, a variance at 5509 Jeffersonville Road, a variance at 5748 Taylor Road, and a variance at 6581 Rogers Road.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the ratification items as listed by Commissioner Rogers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried. Motion to adjourn?
I've got, before you adjourn, I've got just a reminder. I think we decided not to meet the second meeting in November. That's Thanksgiving week. And even though COVID will probably keep us off from traveling, I think we canceled that meeting. So the next hearing will be on December the 14th. And that'll be the only meeting in December because we've canceled, of course, the fourth meeting in December.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So carried.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good job. Thank y'all.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good job, Mark.
Happy Veterans Day.
Thanks,
Greg.
Larry.